Every great transformation begins with a moment of clarity, a single, defining realization about what one truly wants. Until that moment arrives, most people drift through life, pulled by random events, influenced by others' opinions, and distracted by superficial goals. But the moment a person discovers what they really want, what sets their soul on fire, everything changes. Direction appears where there was once confusion. Energy rises where there was once fatigue. Obstacles that seemed impossible begin to shrink under the weight of focused intent. The power of purpose is not a luxury. It's a necessity. Without it, ambition becomes scattered. You can be busy all day, every day, and still achieve nothing meaningful. People confuse movement with progress. But there's a massive difference. You can run in circles and get nowhere. You can work hard and still feel empty. But when your life is driven by a clear and definite purpose, every action gains weight. Every step has meaning. You no longer react to life, you begin to shape it. Clarity gives birth to discipline. When you know what you're after, discipline is no longer a punishment. It becomes a strategy. You start waking up earlier because time becomes precious. You read more because your mind becomes a tool, not just a container. You say no to distractions, not out of fear, but out of strength, because you've seen something greater. You've felt it. And once that feeling takes root, everything you once considered important begins to fade. The difference between those who rise and those who remain stuck is rarely talent. It's rarely luck. More often, it's clarity. Those who rise do so because they refuse to let their minds wander aimlessly. They take the time to dig deep and ask the hard questions. What am I here to do? What impact do I want to make? What legacy will I leave behind? These aren't just questions. They are anchors. They keep you grounded when the storms of doubt and fear hit. Once purpose is established, the mind begins to work like a magnet. You start noticing opportunities that were always there, but invisible to the unfocused eye. Your conversations change. Your social circle evolves. You attract people who resonate with your direction and repel those who don't. This is not coincidence, it's alignment. When you're clear, life stops being noise and starts becoming a signal. Every lesson, every challenge, every relationship begins to serve your mission. Purpose also breeds resilience. Life will test you. That's a guarantee. But when you're clear on your purpose, setbacks don't feel like the end. They feel like a pause. A redirection, not a defeat. You develop grit, not because you enjoy suffering, but because you know what's waiting on the other side. Pain becomes part of the process, not the enemy. You don't run from the fire, you walk through it. Eyes forward, because you know exactly where you're going. Too many people are stuck not because they lack ability, but because they lack clarity. They chase approval instead of meaning. They follow trends instead of their inner voice. They wake up every day reacting instead of creating. But the good news is clarity can be cultivated. It takes reflection. It takes honesty. It takes silence in a noisy world. You won't find your purpose by scrolling. You won't find it in comparison. You find it by going inward, by asking yourself what makes you feel alive, what impact you want to make, and who you're willing to become to make it happen. There's a quiet power in a person who knows what they want. You can feel it in how they walk. You can hear it in how they speak. There's no rush, no panic, just a quiet, unshakable focus. They don't chase people, they attract the right ones. They don't need to prove themselves because they're already moving with intention. That kind of energy is rare, and it's magnetic. Purpose simplifies decision-making. Should you take that job? Start that project? Move to that city? When your purpose is clear, the answers become obvious. Every choice is filtered through your mission. If it aligns, it's a yes. If it doesn't, it's a no. That kind of clarity saves years of wandering. It saves energy that would have been wasted. And more than anything, it builds momentum. Because every right decision adds fuel to your fire. It also brings peace. Not comfort, but peace. There's a difference. Comfort is often the enemy of growth. Peace, on the other hand, comes from knowing you're on the right path, even when it's hard. It's the kind of inner stillness that comes from moving with purpose. Even if the world doesn't yet see what you're building, you no longer seek permission. You no longer wait to be validated. You are led by a vision that comes from within. Purpose-driven individuals don't need constant motivation. They are fueled from the inside. Sure, they have off days, but even on the hard days, they show up. Even when no one is watching, they put in the work. Because they're not doing it for applause, they're doing it because they must. Because to not do it would be betrayal. Betrayal of their own potential. betrayal of the people they're meant to serve, betrayal of the future. They've seen in their imagination this kind of life is available to anyone, but only those who are willing to look inward and define what truly matters. It requires courage. It requires letting go of the comfort of average. It requires tuning out the noise and choosing depth over distraction. But once you do, once you lock in on that one thing that matters most, your entire life begins to move in that direction. And what's even more powerful, the moment you become clear on your purpose, you give others permission to do the same. Your clarity inspires. Your focus becomes a mirror showing others what is possible. You stop just living, you start leading. Not by force, but by example. Not by control, but by conviction. When someone commits to a life of clarity and purpose, their energy changes. People notice it, even if they can't explain it. You start to become the kind of person others are drawn to, not because you're trying to impress, but because you're aligned. Alignment is rare. Most people are living split lives. What they say, what they do, and what they want are pulling in different directions. But when everything inside you is moving toward the same destination, that energy is undeniable. It commands respect without demanding it. You stop making decisions based on fear or convenience. Instead, you make decisions based on mission. Fear may still exist, but it no longer has authority. You feel it, acknowledge it, but you act anyway. That's the difference between someone with purpose and someone without. One lives ruled by emotion. The other uses emotion as fuel. And let's talk about time. Because when you're living without purpose, time slips through your fingers. Days blur into weeks, weeks into months, and suddenly, years have passed and nothing meaningful has changed. But the moment you step into a life of purpose, time sharpens. You value every hour. You make plans with intention. You eliminate the unnecessary. You don't chase urgency, you create importance. Now, people will challenge your clarity. They'll question your direction. Not everyone will understand what you're doing or why you're doing it. But that's okay. Purpose isn't something you explain. It's something you express through how you live. And eventually, those who doubted will either respect your growth or remove themselves from your path. This journey isn't about perfection. It's about progression. You don't need to have everything figured out to start. You just need enough clarity to take the first step. And then the next. Purpose isn't found in isolation. It's built through action. As you move, you refine. As you learn, you adapt. And as you grow, your purpose evolves with you. Even your setbacks begin to serve you. Mistakes no longer define you. They shape you. You begin to see failure not as evidence of weakness, but as feedback. It shows you what's not working so you can get closer to what will. Clarity doesn't remove all obstacles, but it does give you the strength. You don't dabble anymore. You dedicate. You become the kind of person who follows through, who shows up whether it's easy or not. That shift in identity changes everything. It shapes how you speak, how you carry yourself, how you respond to pressure. You're no longer waiting for motivation to strike because purpose itself becomes your fuel. And with that mindset, your life moves from ordinary to intentional because now every action, every word, every decision is aligned with something greater than comfort. It's aligned with meaning,